Good evening, folks. This is Deb Delapiana. I was going to post this video tomorrow morning, but as it turns out, the old lady's going to be in for opening tomorrow because we have a couple of people out, and it is what we call, in the retail world, truck day. So I'm making this video tonight. We're going to talk about governance, okay? And I'm not going to give you a whole bunch of shit to read. I'm not going to, show a bunch of stuff on the screen. We're just going to have some chatter, because the reaction that I get from people when there are like crises sometimes is mind-boggling. Okay, what they consider crises, and this is what I wanted to talk to you about, because the GOP, generally speaking, doesn't govern. They don't legislate and they don't govern, unless, of course, they're targeting a group of people. And when there are real problems facing Americans, I'm sorry, folks, but if you want to point out to me any time that the GOP has stood up and stepped up and filed legislation that really does benefit the American people when they're in some kind of crisis, I'm eager to see it. My email is factivist.project@gmail.com. Anytime, okay? Because I've been looking back over the last 20 years and can't find any. So there is one thing, however, though, that the Republicans do that gives them cover. And they dip into the bucket of moral panic. And they hammer shit home into the tiny little brains of the American public until the American public is completely brainwashed over things that they perceive as crises. So let's talk about a couple of those things. Let's talk about those things today. For example, transgender people playing sports in school, high schools, colleges. They want you to believe that this is a huge fucking problem in America, a huge problem. Women are being victimized because men who are transitioning to women have an advantage. Actually, men who are transitioning to women, and I know because I have a child here doing so, are actually taking testosterone blockers. Okay. So we understand each other here. Okay. And I don't know if the GOP really understands this, but there are actually women who are transitioning to men. I have a friend who's doing that right now. So they want you to believe this is a major problem. We're writing bills. You can't play in high school. You can't play in college. You can't play on the junior varsity team because you have an upper hand. You know what? In the big scheme of things on this planet, in this country, it's a handful of people. I mean, okay, maybe not a handful, but it's certainly not in the millions, okay? There are not a lot of people in that bucket. Let's just say that. And when they first started digging into the well of moral panic, from what I could see, and I followed this very closely, I have a dog in the fight. From what I could see, the students who were competing, who were not transgender, did not have a problem with any of this. There were the two P's that had a problem with this: the parents and the politicians, but certainly not the people who were directly involved in this, the kids. My feeling is, let the schools deal with all of this. They don't need the fucking federal government involved. Let's talk about another bucket of panic that we dug into. Teachers indoctrinating children so that they turn out to be gay. So they would like you to believe that they teach kindergarten to third grade kids about being gay. That's a fucking flat out lie. There isn't a fucking school in America that has it on their curriculum. There's not a school in America that teaches gay. And there is absolutely no scientific evidence that if you talk about being gay, you become gay. In fact, it doesn't work that way with being transgender either. If you are, you know it. And if you are, you know it. I knew it. I knew it when I was, I don't know, very young. I may not have had a word for it, but I knew I was looking at the boys' girlfriends for a reason. And it wasn't, you know, I wasn't like every other kid my age. Nobody teaches that stuff. Does it come up in class? Maybe a kid goes in the first grade and says, I had a great weekend with my dads this weekend. So should we pretend that doesn't happen? It does happen. You know, kids see shit. You know, you can't put little blinders on them, keep them in a little tube for the rest of their lives. But we created this moral panic, and then we go after the teachers saying they're indoctrinating people. And we go after, you know, school administrators. We go after, you know, counselors. We go after nurses. If a kid comes in and says, I had a great weekend with my two dads, what do you say to them? Great, what did you guys do? How about that? Something fucking simple. Or we say to them, we don't talk about that here. That's what they want you to do. The first thing they want you to do is believe that that's being taught, okay? Somehow we have gotten the American people into a lather about if you read about it, you will become it. So now we ban books. So we close our children's minds to everything because we created a moral panic because we don't know how to govern through problems. And that's really what the ballywick is of the GOP. We create moral panic as if these are real issues, and we make them front and center because they can't deal with the real issues, and they don't want to admit that to you. So they make shit up. I don't know why anyone's surprised with this. They've been making shit up for a very long time. They made all of that shit up about the election being stolen, and they're still making that shit up about the election being stolen. They worry about whether or not you're a parent who might be sending your kid to, you know, drag queen story hour. You know what? Quite frankly, it's none of your fucking business what I do with my kids. How's that? You worry about your fucking kids. It's not the federal fucking government's concern about what I do with my kids. It's not my governor's concern where I take my kids to read stories. It certainly isn't Ron DeSantis's business. It's not Charlie Baker's business here in Massachusetts. If I want to take my kid to drag queen story hour in Jamaica Plain on a Sunday morning, how about you mind your fucking business? You take your fucking kid to church if that's what you want to do, and you leave me alone. And how about that? Is that a problem for you? We're at the point now where we're starting to watch people in their homes. We're starting to worry about whether a parent might be having a party and is dressed like a drag queen. We've literally got fucking groups of fucking Nazis in Massachusetts standing outside these places looking in the fucking windows. Get a life. Find a problem. This is the shit that drives me absolutely insane. When we, you know, think about maybe we're going to vote, split the ticket and vote for the GOP because, you know, we have a problem here and someone's going to solve it. We're going to talk about that next. The next video, which we'll probably post when I get back from work tomorrow, we're going to be talking about the recession and how they're not governing through that either. I'll talk to you guys later.